and we are the co-founders of Dipper.
Dipper is a technology platform that guides professionals of color to a better workplace, one review at a time.
Dipper is your safe space. It is the time for you to share your voice with a community that you are a part of. Visit us and join today at ourdipper.com.
Welcome to the virtual launch of ourdipper.com. You requested that we continue these events, so we have added to our lineup. So join us every Tuesday until the end of June to participate in our Shut Up and Listen themed events. And yes, I know today is Wednesday. We have something special today, so stay tuned to that. Each event will feature top DEI thought leaders to discuss engaging topics impacting workplace culture. So this is a perfect opportunity to share more about Dipper, a tech platform for all people of color, Black, Brown, Asian, and Indigenous professionals of all levels, including C-suite, to rate and review their workplaces. Members have profiles and can access the inside scoop on which companies to join and stay away from. Let's save our time, right? Members can also engage with other members on Dipper's newsfeed. So today, our topic is how collective power is creating a cultural shift. Let me start by introducing our guests, LinkedIn influencers, Ashanti Martin and Two Eagles Marcus. So we'll start off with
Netta.
Martin. Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Can you see my my smile and my glow through my static image? Because all I can give you right now had some technical issues, but you know, from doing a few podcasts, I think I can live. And I actually think it might be relevant to our conversation, perhaps, because one of the things that I can rest easy in is that my face won't be, you know, making you know, I won't, nobody will see the attitude and emotion on my face, which I've gotten in trouble for.
I want to see all of that. We are so excited to have you with us. And you know, I have to brag a little bit about you, right?
Oh,
so
do it.
Yeah. So Ashanti is an activist, a writer, podcast host, and a speaker. She has recently written an article for the New York Times on LinkedIn titled "Black LinkedIn is Thriving. Does LinkedIn have a problem with that?" Oof. She had an extensive career in higher education, culminating at Wharton School as a senior associate director of communication. And she aims to empower Black professionals to collaborate and make their voices heard. Thank you so much, Ashanti, for joining us today. Jacinta, on to you.
Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Netta, for that great introduction. And I have the honor of introducing Two Eagles Marcus, the founder of Empowered Business Magazine, which is a content platform that centers Black, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, and Indigenous Native Americans in business, entrepreneurship, and social justice, while amplifying their voices and their experiences. We're so glad to have both of you here today, and thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights in advance.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive in right into some of these questions. And this question is for both of you. Can you describe how you've been able to utilize collective power in your work? And have you seen a cultural shift from your work as well?
Two Eagles, I can jump in because
you're the New York Times writer. You've had more of a bigger impact right now at this point.
I mean, I thought you were just going to say I'm from New York, which is credibility enough, but
I mean, you're from Yonkers, so
that too.
You got credit.
So my point is, I don't hesitate to speak my mind. So to answer your question is, I haven't. You know, 20 plus years in the workplace in white dominated spaces. I would say that I haven't had much opportunity on a big picture level to actually envision and enact kind of that collective culture. And I think that's one of the reasons that I love the concept of Dipper so much, is not because it is the quote unquote, you know, glass door for people of color. I think it's a place where people are going to come together and really start to think about how can we shift models of working in the workplace that are based in, unity, supporting each other, collectivism, and not punishment and measurement and a degree of inhumanity. So I'm very excited. So that's that. If that answers your question, I will say I haven't. What I am trying to do is wherever and whenever I can is to influence people to try to make those own, push back against that culture where they can, understanding that the risk is often great, especially considering your level in any organization or your personal autonomy with what you're able to do, how much you're able to risk, essentially your living. So, and on my last point is that now that I'm, 2021, new year, new me, new we, I just coined that. But to build organizations from the ground up that have that culture at their heart. So I'm working with a group of amazing, incredible women to build a nonprofit organization that is focused on issues of social justice around land reclamation for Black Americans. So one of the things that we're doing is really starting to think now, we're a very small group, about the culture of the organization that we want to build. So those are my thoughts. I haven't used it, but I hope to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And, I'm definitely intrigued by the work that you're doing. And I think through your writing, right, you empower so many people that are able to collectively come together, right, and feel that power and able to empower each other. So I thank you for that.
Thank you for doing the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, that article that you read that you wrote was absolutely amazing. And I think there are so many individuals on LinkedIn, especially Black people on LinkedIn, that post content to educate and empower others around them, that were able to come together through that. So again, thank you for doing that.
I just want to jump in now real quick. I'll just tell you one of the highlights of really my life, but it happened over the last month, was I was in a Clubhouse room, the Black LinkedIn is Thriving Clubhouse room, every Sunday, started by Bianca Jackson and Lanisha Adams. And there was a young woman, she was about 23, and she had just entered the workforce and she was struggling. You could hear it. She talked about it. And she said that she kept my article bookmarked, and that every time she kind of needed a grounding or a reminder that it is not her, that the struggles and challenges that she's facing as a young Black woman in a tech company were not her. And so to me, that is worth it in and of itself. So I'm really gratified and happy to see the likes that it has.
Yeah, that's powerful. And again, thank you so much for that. Two Eagles, I would like to pose the same question to you. If you could describe how you've been able to kind of utilize collective power in your work, and have you actually been able to see that cultural shift from your work happen?
Well, in our community, as most communities, it's predominantly white, and when it comes to creating social capital, I mean, that's what we really need as people of color across the board for everyone. We need to have the social capital, the bonding amongst our own groups, the bridging between different groups, Black, Asian, Pacific, Hispanic, Native American, but then also the linking, which is of the different levels of social stratification, in order to make change. And I think that when it comes to anything, I mean, the workforce is an extension of the government, and it's an extension of systemic racism, and all of which has been founded by white supremacists,
right,
that created a supremacist system to keep them in power. So until we can really get organizations, significantly sized organizations, that are led by people of color and founded by people of color, we're not going to be able to get the true change that we're ever going to want to see in organizations. So it's very important that we create these organizations by, first of all, creating a social capital. So we find out who all the best people are at every company of color, right? Or all the people of color, and then find a way to get in the position of bringing them all to one place. Because it's going to start with us. It's going to really not start with us, but we're the ones that are going to keep it going. And it's essential that we do that in this country because the economy is dependent on the development of business in amongst people of color. Now back to what you said and back to my community. One of the things that I've noticed, and what you'll notice too, when you think of like the Grammys, the Emmys, whatever award show there's ever been, they're always almost white exclusive. Like everybody that wins has always been white. You look at the statistics, they're all white people. And when it comes to business organizations too, because there's so few in the so few people of color in leadership and you know why they're not in leadership, but because there's so few people of color that when organizations are trying to, or they put on an awards, whether it's 40 under 40, most powerful people in the city, whatever it is, the people that make those nominations, the people that are in that world, they don't know any people of color except for the handful that they see it. Like literally you could look at events and be like, hey, look, the same person won 5 major awards
right.
1 year, because they don't know anyone else to vote for or nominate. So what I've done is create, I've created an award. I have several. The first awards we did was the Influential Awards, and that was people that are advocating for change for people of color.
Yeah.
And that can be in the business sense, like the people. We had 21 honorees in 7 categories. So there's 3 honorees in each category, but we had people that are in leadership. But it's not like 3 CEOs of $10 million, $500 million companies. It's like, hey, there's a CEO that's in D&I at this company, but then there's somebody that is working at a nonprofit that has 2 staff members, because they're actually leading change in the community or in making a difference in business or making a business difference in the community. So I deliberately found people of color for all those, and it really even increased my circle of or my connections and my social capital. And some people I talked to that were C-suite executives, they're like, I've never been nominated for anything. And I'm like, it's shocking, but it's not shocking.
Yeah.
So part of what I'm doing is elevating the profile of people of color to create social capital. So we start seeing and knowing who the people are, the players. And so we can, I want to create this like A team of social change agents, and they all come to the website, and then I connect them with other people like you that are making a difference.
I love that. I love that. It goes back to that collective power, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so important in order for us to really drive that change that we're looking for. What's the saying? To a more gathered.
Yeah.
There's power in numbers.
We're having church.
We are. There truly is.
This is where I wish you could see my face. Like I said, maybe you'll keep me out of a little bit of trouble.
Well, Jacinta, go.
Yeah. No, one thing that struck me too was when Ashanti was mentioning, it's never too early to start thinking about the culture of your organization. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of times we see that when, especially startups are evolving, it's like, well, when do I bring in a head of people or HR, or when do we start thinking about having inclusive hiring processes or performance review processes? And it seems like we're all really agreeing it starts at day one, like in how you're setting the values of your organization and what you're really yearning for and what you're really looking to build. And so, like, what causes in change that you've seen, whether in your own orgs or that you observed, what causes that cultural change and really brings the collective together? What have you seen really ignite that?
So first of all, I just want to say that when I realized how the only reason that I really truly understood how important it was to begin intentionally creating culture from the ground up was, because of the experience, insights, and wisdom of the great Madison Butler. Shout out to her for pointing that out to me. I actually, made a comment to her about, well, why are they thinking about these things now? Shouldn't they just be focused on like the work, like getting the stuff done? She's like, no, that is something that you want to start building from day one. And it makes sense because it is so hard to, especially when you're in an organization that, you mentioned performance reviews, and you have a culture of, it's like, who's going to be evaluating me? I want the people who are evaluating me to evaluate me from a place that is more aligned with my values than not. And so that really kind of rocked my world. And so I appreciate her for that and many other things. So I'll kick it over to Two Eagles if you want to throw in a comment,
though. In any organization, mine is very small, so I don't have to really think. There's been times where I've been doing better and had to think about it, but now I don't have to think about it because now we're too small. But when it comes to other organizations, and specifically what Ashanti was talking about, you're never, if you're not judged by your peers, and I mean peers being similar social stratification and similar lived experiences, you're never going to get an unbiased assessment of what it is you're doing. You're not going to be ever valued how you should be, because there's so much bias that's just that people they don't even know they're doing it. So if you take any bias, I don't know if you've ever taken a bias test, but I took one that was you had to associate white skin and black skin with harmless objects and harmful objects. And I rate it's like you just tap these buttons as fast as you can, and it's just like a split millisecond, and it can detect your hesitation to associate people of color with harmless objects, but it can detect also how fast you associate them with harmful objects. So with a country, an education system that vilifies dark skin and has weaponized dark skin and reinforced it through media, and also not told our true history in this country, it's never gonna be fair enough until, like I said, we have organizations that are founded and led by people of color that understand these biases. And just because we're a person of color, it doesn't mean that we know everything about our own biases. Even we all have colorism, we all have bias, sexism. Doesn't matter. We all still have to work on ourselves. I hope that was the answer you're looking for.
No, that makes sense too, because it's interesting. Because a lot of times when we think about collective power, you almost think about there's someone in opposition, but within the collective, there's bias, right? So, yeah. I mean, and within our own pool, because I know even when Netta and I came together, we got a lot of questions because it was like, are you sure you want to start a company with another Black woman? Like from other Black women who were like uncertain, like, will the two of you get along? Like, did you, like, and I felt like, I was like, wait, aren't we all on the same home team? Like, I just kind of felt like, aren't we all on the same side? Ashanti, I saw you unmute. Go ahead and chime in.
Who's going to unmute, and you just know it's like, oh, okay, she wants to jump in.
Go for it.
I mean, one, that's unfortunate that you had to hear that. First of all, there's some things that even if you think them, you don't have to say. But so there's that. And then you kind of show that it's like, okay, now we know where you stand. But you know what? As far as aren't we all on the same home team, I am a strong believer in, so I say a lot, I love Black excellence. I would love to be able to embrace Black mediocrity. And here's what I mean by that. I would like to have the room. And I think that when Two Eagles was talking about the kind of spaces and organizations and values that he's trying to innovate and build, there should be room for us to have not perfect opinions. You know, there should be room for us to differ from each other. And yes, there should be room for you and Netta to maybe not always get along, or also maybe not always agree. You know, that's because you're humans. So I sort of push back and resist the pressure that we have to, like, when we set out on a venture, that it has to be picture perfect, because that's really just reinforcing, you know, what a lot of our corporate experience has been, is that you have to be perfect. You know, if you want to get ahead, or you might learn later, you have to be perfect if you want to just keep your head above water. So that's what I have to say about that. That's why I unmuted. But I also, for me, I like to go to, you know, I've never really celebrated Kwanzaa. You know, I've gone to many Kwanzaa celebrations, especially when I was younger. But I like to look at the values of Kwanzaa as just like a really good, handy reference that anyone can look at and say, well, you can't disagree with these. You know, you have unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. I mean, those are like solid values. And so when you're looking to build an organization, it doesn't have to be Kwanzaa, but it can be other places that you have derived your value systems, and then start there. You don't have to start with a template that's not built for you. I have a child coming into my room, so I'm going to throw it back on mute.
No, it's like, I was thinking maybe bringing up the values of Kwanzaa should be like on the second date, you know.
Right?
Like, I love that. That is a very good, like, solid foundation to just sanity check. Like, where do we stand? So, Two Eagles, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah. So when it comes to, you know, obviously all of us have our own opinions, and we're not gonna agree on everything. But do white women say that to other white women when they're going into business with white women?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like, as a person of color, all of us have our own lived experiences, and we know that there's so many similar things where people say they have this preconceived idea of what a Native American is, or what a Black woman is, or whatever it is, and they're like, you know, oh, well, you probably won't get along because you're both Black women. And it's like, come on, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So so along with that, I have to say that you know, internalized racism is a hell of a drug, and you know, when you hate yourself, it's hard to, and you see people that look like you, it's hard to think that they don't hate themselves too. And I'm not saying you hate themselves, but for a long time, because I was immersed in white society, I really hated being a Native American, because I just want to be like everyone else. And as I go through history class, and it's like, I didn't even know my true history. They weren't teaching me my true history. As far as I knew, Native Americans were savages. And I felt like whenever we talked about it, everybody looked at me like, oh shit, I'm the only savage in the audience. See what I'm saying? So going through life in that environment creates a really negative self-image, and it's damaging, and it causes trauma. And then it caused me to even, you know, be, I can't think of the term, but it's when you are biased or racist towards even people of your own, you know, ethnicity, or your own similar group.
Yeah, wow. Internalized racism. And that's really funny, like funny, not funny that you mentioned that, Two Eagles. And I really appreciate you hearing that, because you're like, I'm the only savage sitting in the classroom.
Right.
And I would be in the classroom. We would be having those Black History talk, and I'd be like, I'm the only slave in the classroom. Like, really,
that's so true.
Here, and thinking like you teaching these lessons, and you're just like, I guess that's me. You know, so I just thank you for sharing that, because, you know, that is not academic. It makes a difference and stays with you for the rest of your life. You know?
No, you're so right. And going back to classrooms, I remember taking an Afro-Asian class in high school, and in an honors class, feeling like, wait, why is this now turning into animal science? Right? Like, why are Africans or Black people being painted as animals, essentially? Right? And that awkward feeling, because you are the only one, and you're looking around like, wait, no one else sees that this is off here. So thank you both for being so vulnerable and so open, and dropping gems. We are out of time. Can you believe the time went so fast?
No.
Yes.
I know.
There was more to talk about. I took up all the time. I'm sorry, everyone.
We're gonna do it again because I want to see Ashanti's twist out.
Yeah.
No, you know what? So for the audience, stay tuned, because after this, I'm actually jumping onto another live.
Right.
Professionally Black. I don't know if it's gonna work there, but if it doesn't work, I'm gonna take a video and show you this out with my new red hair color. I also did want to say that cop to and absolve Netta in the sense of any it was me who was late, so because of my technical difficulties. I don't want to hurt the Dipper brand, because the brand me.
And then she ends with shameless self-promotion. I'm going to be on this other podcast in a few minutes.
Yes. No, that's fine. That's what we got to do for each other.
I'm just sharing my life. It's a little crazy.
Listen, at the end of the day, it is all about collective power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Collectiveness.
Exactly.
And I want to thank both of you for your time today. I love both of you. We have to bring you back on. Like I said, both of you dropped such amazing gems today. To all professionals of color, connect with us on ourdipper.com right now by signing up and completing your profile on ourdipper.com so that we can unpack all the gems that our guests dropped today. Also, be sure to rate and review all companies. I mean, every single company that you have ever worked for on ourdipper.com. Sign up, be the guide to a better workplace. Log in to share your voice and find your space. And thank you for joining. And we hope to see you on ourdipper.com today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.